It's your old coffin dodger back here again, and it is with great pleasure that I speak to you today on the 15th of the 12th, 2019. It's a Sunday, and I suppose in Germany they would say, here she is again with das Wort zum Sonntag. There used to be a religious program on TV every Sunday, and it was roughly translated, was called The Word on Sunday, where a pastor or somebody else religious addressed people and gave them something to think about and gave them words of hope for the rest of the week until the following Sunday. Why I start with Germany is because I've been looking again at resistance, and especially in view of what happened there yesterday in Dublin. There was a protest march or a protest event against the planned hate speech laws. Now, there's a lot of speculation going around as to what exactly these laws are going to consist of and what they will be able to cover, because as I said before in another broadcast, I mean, hate is emotion. So what they are trying to do is to govern emotion through law. And it doesn't belong here. There's no such thing as hate speech. I mean, I could spit at you and that'd be hate, or I could spit on the ground and it would be hate if you perceived it to be hate. And I spat, on a spider and you perceive it to be hate. So then I have to, I suppose, produce the spider in court with the spittle on it for DNA to prove that it wasn't you I meant when I spat on the ground. I mean, this is so ridiculous that it makes me quite ill, actually. Our strength as a nation will depend on our economic freedom and upon our moral and intellectual force. In these, we can become a shining light in the world. I came across that quote recently and I saved it. I actually wrote it down because it was written on something that I didn't want to steal. So I just wrote it down because it's public, it's in the public domain anyway. And it was Michael Collins who said that. And it appeals to me immensely, especially at this time of year. You seem to be groping around in the dark most of the day. So it's nice to have light. And that's what struck me yesterday as well, when I looked at the faces, the pictures afterwards that people were posting, and I looked at our, inverted commas here, at our crowd. They all seem to be kind of happy-looking people and nice, bright colours on them, especially the Irish flags. I love the Irish flags. It's beautiful colours. There's a butterfly, actually. I call it the Irish butterfly because it's the first butterfly of the year, and it has green, white and orange. That's its colour. And to me, it's always a sign of hope when I see it. It comes out in March, I think, late March maybe, or early April. You'll sometimes see, on a nice sunny day, you'll see these butterflies. Anyway, I digress. That's the kind of a feeling I got yesterday. And then I saw the actual protest and what was the counter protest on the other side of the road. And these were all dark people. They were all kind of covered up, hiding themselves, their faces, and there seemed to be kind of a dark mood emanating from them as well. That's why I like the light. The light shines and over the darkness, and it just, it shows up the darkness as well for what it is. If you see these people going along the street, well, you wouldn't look at them anyway, one way or the other. But when you see them gathered there together with their little posters, and they're the ones that are actually spewing hate across the road. That's what I felt anyway, and that's more or less what has been confirmed since by what I can gather from different reports. And what was I going to say? We were talking about resistance anyway, and resistance to draconic laws and tyrannical governments, which ours seem to be right now, because they seem to be quite disturbed that there are people actual citizens in the country who have a different point of view. Now, we're called a democracy, but a democracy is only a democracy when it allows opposition. And opposition can sometimes be quite painful. I mean, if you're shown up as something that you are, the light is shone on your darkness, on your dirt, well, you're not going to like it. The way it's going right now is that they want to shut everybody up, and they're in cahoots with social media, with all the outlets. So it's not social media anymore anyway, because the publishers of other media have now majority shareholds in what we used to know as social media. So they're now publishers. So they can determine what can be published and what not. So that's, I think, what's ahead of us right now. But when we're talking about resistance, I wonder how many of you have heard of the Scholl siblings, the White Rose movement in Germany that opposed the Nazi system, and where both of the Scholls, Hans and Sophie, were executed without a proper trial for speaking out against the Nazi regime. And they were well known for distributing leaflets from the White Rose. They called themselves the White Rose movement, and they distributed leaflets all over Munich, in the town, and wherever they could, on the trains, wherever they went, they dropped these leaflets, and of course ended up paying the ultimate price for that activity. And it wasn't just the Scholl siblings alone, it's just that they are best known. There are a huge number of quotes online that originated in Sophie's last days of life, where she kept her diary and she wrote down what she was thinking. And the amazing thing about these guys is that they noticed fairly early on, they were actually in the groups, in the youth groups of the Nazis, the Hitler Youth, as it was called. The same as Cardinal Ratzinger. When he was a kid, he was a young chap, and he also was in these groups, until the siblings began to notice how their Christian faith and their own moral convictions were not in line with the goals of National Socialism. And that has become, here in Ireland, it has become so evident that all of the referendums, all of the stuff that is now being dished up to us, whether we like it or not, is not in line with our Christian faith. So it just goes to show the methodology of these people, that they want to first get rid of your faith. They stamp on it, they bring up all the horrible things, which of course have happened, but it doesn't mean that it happened in every house, and that every priest was bad, that every nun was bad. But that was the strategy that they've been riding on for the past number of years. And that's the way every dictatorship works. It first gets rid of the intelligentsia, the intelligent section of society, and that happened here after the crash in 2008, when people were out of work, when they started to go abroad looking for a new existence for themselves and their families. These were the smarter ones, because these are the ones who are able to, who are resilient enough to make a new life for themselves. Then simultaneously they get rid of the clergy and the spirituality of people, so that they separate you from God, getting rid of your church representatives or making them subordinate to the state. If they don't get rid of them altogether, they will make them adhere to the laws. So when they've got rid of these, so who's left then floundering away here on our own? We were like fish on dry land there for a while, but because we're Irish, we did find our way back into the running water again, and we are very, very fresh, and we're moving upstream, and we are not going with the flow. We are actually going against the flow, like the salmon goes back to the place of its own birth to give birth itself. That we can learn an awful lot from nature. But that's what we Irish are doing. We are going back to our roots. We are going back to that which sustained us for centuries, which is our faith. And we are picking up on our faith again in a different way, not in the rigid rules of our Catholicism, but in a free spirit manner. We are going back to our roots, and we're not going to put up with this dictatorship anymore. We've had enough. We've had enough of all kinds of things being pushed upon us, and the 700,000 that opposed every referendum, they have no voice whatsoever. And we are rediscovering our Constitution, because the Constitution is the document that is giving us the freedom to speak up. And the Constitution is the document that was given to the people, from the people, for the people. And it wasn't for the government, it was for us. And we are rediscovering that now. We are going upstream to the place of our birth, which is our Constitution. And from there we shall overcome. At this point yesterday, I was interrupted. I had to go to Cavan Hospital on an errand in the evening time, and it was providence in a way, because while I was there, I got talking to a nurse from Romania. Now, Romania is the place where the beloved Ceaușescu was in power for many, many years, and where many, many, many people suffered under his regime. Many free thinkers, many Catholics, many straight-thinking people, they were at his mercy. And thankfully he was taken down at some stage. But this nurse said to me, I said, Asher, we're going for a kind of a communism here now in Ireland as well. And she nodded. She couldn't say much because she was surrounded by other nurses and staff, but she nodded. And so, I mean, Ceaușescu was one of the worst. You know, there was other ones as well that were bad enough, but he was one of the most cruel leaders, if you'd like to call them that, dictators of the time. So I just wanted to stuff that in here now before I continue with another topic, and that is one of my favourites, and that is TUSLA. I've had dealings with TUSLA, and I am well aware of TUSLA's strategies and of their way of intimidating people, and how they alert whole villages to ostracize more or less the parents who are being targeted for their babies. It could happen that in the middle of the day, a whole cohort of police, of Gardaí, might arrive at the house in a small town where everybody is witness to it, and where these people then are more or less getting a reputation of being in trouble with the Gardaí. So that's one thing. Another thing is that I've read a lot of reports that they have written to people, and I must say a 10-year-old could write a better report, because not only I'm not good at grammar, I'm not good at punctuation, but the language they use is very, very primitive. They talk about feelings, and they think that is not done. That is not a professional way of doing up a report for a child or for a parent. They force parents to take intelligence, IQ tests, and things like that. And they have been also known to falsify birth certificates. And that is one thing that is very, very concerning, that with freshly born children who are taken away very quickly from the parents, they could end up with a completely different birth date. And if you as a parent are looking for your child and you're giving the birth date, you know when you give birth. you're not ever going to find your child again. And that is very, very sinister. And I'm calling out Catherine Sapone for that. I'm also calling her out for her other policies of taking children away, of allowing children to have abortions, of allowing children to pursue a transition from one gender to another because over the heads of their parents. And of course, this is all a result of that referendum was back in, when was it, 2012? The rights of the child, when they were purporting it was to be able to act a lot quicker on cases of child cruelty. But there was a hidden agenda, and at that time I started a Facebook page and a website actually as well. I called Hidden Agenda 42 because it was the Article 42 of the Constitution that they wanted to remove at the time, or to change and to reformulate. So this goes back a good while, and they've been chipping away at our families ever since then. What is even more interesting is that at the moment, currently, they are actually dictating to mothers who they associate with and who not. Now, I've just heard about a woman who is attending court this week, I think, and her orders are to keep away from Gemma O'Doherty and Dee Wall. These two women, they have been helping her to plead her case with TUSLA, and I must say that as far as I can see and as far as I can judge, and I'm a very, very good judge of things and situations and character, this child is being wrongly kept in a toxic environment. And the woman, she's called Angela, everybody knows her by now, she is driving, and she's been put in prison many times, 3 times, probably a 4th time now this week. In and out of prison she goes because all she wants is her child to be returned to the birth family where the child belongs. And if you look at it properly, you will see that TUSLA is committing a crime. They are depriving the child of access to its parent. They are depriving that child of contact with its own family, with its own blood family. And therefore, this is child abuse and this is cruelty. So the events have escalated to the point where when Angela calls the police because she believes that her child is in danger, and she is told not to be calling the police station, not to be calling the Gardaí, she gets a court order not to call the Gardaí when she sees that her child is in danger. Now, Angela is somebody who I believe is very, very able to assess what is going on around her. A very intelligent woman. She's not highly educated, but she's very intelligent, I'm telling you that much. And she is capable of, I would say, of studying law. And I hope she does. I hope she does once she gets out of this situation. And what TUSLA and the government needs to understand is that where you put a gagging order on one person, you try and separate Angela or anybody else from good counsel. There's always somebody else coming up behind. Because you can put one of us down, you can put one of us in prison, but the next one is waiting there in line to continue the job. And what I'm basically trying to say is you cannot lock up the truth. You cannot imprison the truth, because the truth will always out. And it will always find a way out. It's like water trickling down into the crevices of the walls of houses and ending up inside the house. That's the way water goes. Of course, water, if you watch water coming down from a mountain, it finds its way across rocks and foliage and trees and whatever else is up there. The water will find its way down the mountain, down to the river. And I'll end up where we started, that there's no stopping us, and we shall overcome. We object to the present government, where there is no opposition. If we had a party in opposition, we wouldn't have to be making these videos, we wouldn't have to be doing these podcasts, we wouldn't have to be going up to Dublin to protest against gagging orders and criticism of what is going on, because we are the people. We have rights. We should have an opposition party who represent us, but we don't have it. So until then, this is what we're going to do. And where you kill one and put them in prison, like Sophie Scholl, execute her, and more people came out, and there was plenty of resistance, believe you me. All Germans weren't Nazis, but that doesn't get down to you, and certainly doesn't get across the water to the island of Ireland. So anyway, I love you and leave you. I'll put this online today and talk to you again soon.
Some love wine and some love song. Some just like to sing along. But bankers, they love money. Like half loved Scrooge in days of old. They're counting out their pots of gold. There's someone going down today in Toy Town, while the soldiers of destiny look on, expecting us all just to sing along. So wrap the green flag around me, boys. You know it's all I'll have left to wear. Well, there's one law for the rich. They say life's a bitch when you're trying to survive on the dole, while speculators scurry to the coast with wads of cash. Who has the most? It's your children's future in their pockets, while the soldiers of destiny look on, expecting us all just to sing along. So wrap the green flag around me, boys. You know it's all I'll have left to wear. And some go east and some go west. Some say Marble's the best, with a triple-posted double-decker yacht. Well, there's one law for the rich. They say life's a bitch when you're trying to survive on the dole, while the soldiers of destiny look on, expecting us all just to sing along. So wrap the green flag around me, boys. You know it's all I'll have left to wear. Wrap the green flag around me, boys. You know it's all I'll have left to wear.